Murda Beatz came up in a small town in Canada and became one of the hottest producers in the world. But when he was at the top of the game, he disappeared out of nowhere. And today we're breaking down what really happened. Murda Beatz is from a tiny town in Canada called Fort Erie. There's no hip-hop scene in Fort Erie at all. And back in the day, Murda Beatz started out as a drummer instead of a producer. Murda's dad and uncle played music too, and he would jam with them. But at one point he felt like he wasn't getting any better at drums. Murda knew he wasn't going to be a professional drummer and was thinking about going to college to major in business. But then right before he finished high school, one of Murda's homies showed him FL Studio and everything changed. Murda made his first beat and knew from the jump that's what he wanted to do forever. That summer he basically just stayed inside figuring out how to make beats. And it wasn't long before he was working with some huge names. The first thing Murda did was trade in his electric drum kit for a keyboard that he could use to make beats. Back then, a bunch of kids in Murda's high school were rocking with a dude named Your Boy who was from the Bay Area. Murda thought if he could work with Your Boy, then everyone in his high school would go crazy. So Murda started sending beats to all the dudes who were in Your Boy's crew. Then out of nowhere, Murda was actually dropping songs with them. And at the same time, he was selling beats on YouTube. Most of the people around Murda told him he should do something besides music. And one of his teachers even told him there's only one Dr. Dre.
I had everyone talking shit at me at school. Everyone was making fun of me.
Really?
Teachers made fun of me. Principal told me there's only one Dr. Dre, not to do this as a career path.
Everyone else in Fort Erie was playing hockey and planning on getting normal jobs. But Murda never wanted to be like that. So he got on the grind and put in a ton of work. Murda said on No Jumper that when no one knew who he was, he used social media to make connections. When he first started producing, Chief Keef was hot at the time, so he would title his beats Chief Keef type beat. That helped his music get pushed by the algorithm, which is how he built his first YouTube channel. When he wanted to work with a rapper he liked, he would go on Twitter and Instagram and look for the people that were in their crew but had less followers and send them beats. It was a smart tactic because in just a few months, he went from being an unknown kid making beats in his bedroom to working with some of the hottest rappers in the game. Then just 2 months after he started making beats, Soulja Boy hopped on one of Murda's beats. Murda Beatz had given the beat to a rapper from Minneapolis named Rocky Diamonds, and Soulja Boy hopped on the remix. At that point, Soulja Boy wasn't even close to the top of the game anymore, but he was still a big name, and having him on one of Murda's beats was a huge win. When Murda started producing, his main inspiration was trap producers from Atlanta like Lex Luger. Murda Beatz was still just a teenager living in the middle of nowhere though, and he didn't have any connections to the rap game at all. But that didn't slow him down, and Murda started using social media to get his career popping. Murda was following the drill scene in Chicago that started blowing up around 2011. He was a fan of the wave, but didn't have a way to get involved. So Murda got on social media and started building connections. He linked up with a Chicago rapper named Kill Bill, but Murda knew he needed to get out of Canada if he really wanted to blow up. So when Murda was just 17 years old, he flew down to Chicago and started linking up with rappers in the city. Kill Bill brought Murda to the hood for the first time, and Murda was in a totally different world. Going to Chicago was huge for him though, and not before long, Murda was working with huge artists in the city like Chief Keef and Lil Durk. Murda Beatz was making connections to big names, but he was still paying attention to what was going on in the underground rap scene, and that's how he was one of the first people to discover the Migos. Murda heard early tracks and knew that the Migos were going to be special. Murda went back to Canada for a little while, but he knew that he needed to get involved with the rap game in Atlanta too. Offset was locked up at the time, but Murda got in touch with Takeoff and Quavo's homie Skipper the Flipper and asked Skipper to play some of his beats for Takeoff and Quavo. Murda told Skipper he would give him free beats to rap on if he would just show Takeoff and Quavo his beats.
So Offset was locked up at the time, so I was like, yo, play my beats for Quavo and Takeoff and I'll give you beats to rap on. And at the time, the guy was like, well, I'm actually just engineering them, so send it through. So I sent it, and then like 2 weeks later, the Migos Twitter followed me.
And a couple weeks later, the Migos flew him out to Atlanta. He said at first they weren't even sure if Murda was making his own beats because he was just a random white kid from Canada.
They booked my flight, flew me out, and they just really wanted to see like that I was really making the beats and it wasn't like I had someone else making the beats for me.
Murda went to Atlanta and linked up with the Migos for the first time while they were still living in the studio. And after that, he go stay with them for months at a time and make hundreds of tracks. Murda made a track with the Migos called Emmett Smith, and that was the first time he had a video playing on BET and MTV. Everyone back in Murda's hometown thought he was a millionaire at that point, but Murda said he was still crazy broke.
When we made Emmett Smith, I remember seeing it on BET and like people thought I was making like millions of dollars those times, and I had like no money, like none.
At that point, Murda was only charging around $1K for a beat, but he knew that he had to grind to get his name popping. Then the Migos started taking Murda on tour with them, and that was a huge win. Back then, the Migos were the hottest crew in the game, and being with them opened up all kinds of doors for Murda Beatz. Then in 2015, Murda and the Migos had a massive hit when they dropped the track Pipe It Up. The track blew up, but the biggest thing that came out of it was the dab. The Migos didn't invent the dab, but they were definitely the ones who put everyone else onto it. After that, Murda Beatz was dropping hits like crazy. In 2016, he had his first platinum record when he dropped the track No Shopping with French Montana and Drake. That same year, Murda got deeper into the Atlanta scene and started working with Gucci Mane. Then in 2017, Murda Beatz kept the momentum up and went 4 times platinum with 2 Chainz for the track It's a Vibe. He had hits with Nicki Minaj, Party Next Door, Snoop Dogg, and way more that year. Murda was becoming one of the hottest producers in the game and worked with a ton of legends, but he was still making tracks with the Migos. And in 2017, they ran up crazy numbers when they dropped the track Motorsport. 2018 was an even bigger year for Murda Beatz, and that's when he really started pushing his own brand. It's tough in the rap game for producers to get their name buzzing, so Murda Beatz started putting himself as a featured artist on some tracks so fans would actually know who was making the beat. Murda also had a crazy hit in 2018 when he linked up with Drake for the track Nice For What. It went 5 times platinum and was the biggest track Murda had ever worked on. But then he blew up even more when he dropped the track Fifi with 6ix9ine and Nicki Minaj. Fifi was a crazy hit for Murda Beatz and ended up going 8 times platinum, but a lot of fans thought it was weird for him to link up with 6ix9ine. Murda was always talking about how making connections and friends in the rap game was the biggest thing for his career, but then he linked up with a dude who tried to take out one of his own homies. Back in early 2018, 6ix9ine was beefing with Chief Keef and a bunch of other dudes from Chicago. It started when 6ix9ine sparked a beef with Keef's homie Tato, and Tato told him, Keef, Tato, and Trippie Redd linked up on the track I Kill People to clown 6ix9ine, and that's when 6ix9ine started sending shots at Keef on Instagram. He told Keef to pull up on the East Coast, but nobody expected what happened next. In June 2018, 6ix9ine allegedly put $30K on Tato's head and asked him where he was staying.
Where you at? Matter of fact, I'ma just get your address. I know where you at. Don't worry about it. You hear me? I got 30 pack of them right now, bro. 30 packs.
Tato and 6ix9ine were going back and forth on FaceTime, and 6ix9ine was pressing Tato about how he never shot anyone. The beef all started over a female rapper named Cuban Doll. Cuban Doll started dating Tato, but she was also cool with 6ix9ine. Tato allegedly put his hands on Cuban Doll for flirting with 6ix9ine, so 6ix9ine started making videos going at Keef and Tato to try and get them to respond. Tato said he wanted to link up with 6ix9ine while he was in New York, but nobody knew how serious the situation really was. Keef went to New York, and while he was heading to his hotel in Manhattan, 6ix9ine's homie Kuda took a shot at him. After 6ix9ine and his whole crew got hit with a RICO case, Kuda pleaded guilty to shooting at Chief Keef and said that 6ix9ine offered him $20K for the hit. Kuda didn't hit Keef though, and 6ix9ine only paid him $10K for the shooting. Chief Keef was one of the first rappers that Murda Beatz worked with, and a lot of people thought it was weird that he linked up with the dude who put a bag on Keef's head. Nobody was expecting Murda Beatz to get caught up with some street drama, and there's a chance he didn't really know how serious the situation was though. 2018 was a crazy year for Murda Beatz, and it looked like he was gonna keep getting bigger and bigger. And in 2019, he signed a deal with Interscope Records and dropped his debut single with Lil Pump and Sheck West. Murda got his own label imprint too and wanted to sign other artists, and fans were talking about him like he was gonna be the next Dr. Dre. But then Murda just straight up disappeared. He had one of the hottest 3-year runs ever from 2015 to 2018, and it looked like Murda was gonna keep the momentum going, but then he just fell off and stopped making hits. There are a few different reasons Murda went from dropping platinum records constantly to fading out of the spotlight though. In 2019, Murda went on No Jumper and said that it's hard to know what's real and fake in the rap game.
It's just like when you do shit like this, it's like it's hard to tell what's real and fake. Everything's blurred lines when you get into a situation of when people want to fuck with you. So it's like you don't know what's real and what's fake, and sometimes that could be tricky, get you into problems.
And at another point, he said that people who have normal jobs and work 9 to 5 were probably happier than they are.
What are most people that you grew up with doing?
Working at 9 to 5 in the same town.
Yeah, at best.
But yo, you
drunk
could be,
off their ass in the park.
Everyone could, hey, you could be happy in any situation, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're probably more happy than we are.
You think?
Never know.
Murda said that he loved his life, but it looked like there was more going on behind the scenes that Murda didn't talk about. In 2020, Murda Beatz worked with Ariana Grande for the track Motive and hit the charts again, but he was barely in the studio that year. He announced that his first album was going to come out in June 2020 and dropped a single with YNW Melly and Lil Durk, but then the album disappeared and was never released. 2021 was pretty much the same for him. Murda linked up with his homie Shorty for a project, but he barely released anything else that year, and he also had some industry drama with Polo G. Polo G's track Rap Star blew up, and Murda Beatz was listed in the credits. Murda posted about the track popping off and said, "Another #1, been a crazy week, proud of this one, congrats to everyone involved." But according to Polo G, Murda Beatz didn't have anything to do with the track. Polo said that his homies Einer and Cinco were the only ones who worked on the beat, and he called Murda lame for posting about it. It's not clear what really happened with the track, but some people think Murda hurt his career when he claimed credit for working on it. In 2022, it looked like Murda Beatz was making a comeback though. He dropped a track with Pharrell, Quavo, J Balvin, and Anita, but that was pretty much it. That's also when Murda stopped going to the studio as much and started doing DJ sets. Murda said he never wanted to be a DJ and do shows like that, but then he started getting crazy offers that he couldn't turn down.
I used to never want to do it. I always used to be like, man, I don't know if I want to do the DJ stuff. Like, I remember like way back in the day, Coach K was like, man, you should DJ. And I was like, nah, I don't want to DJ. Like, I want to be a producer. But then like, I just feel like the brand just kept getting so big where it's like, then we started getting offers. Like people wanted me to DJ, they want to see me. I have music that people want to see live. So it's like, got to the point where we got like an offer like 4 or 5 years ago to like, it was for me to DJ a New Year's party in Hawaii. And then my manager's like, man, it's like a free vacation. Like, you might as well take it. I'm like, I might as well take it, you know? And then that kind of just got the ball rolling.
He ended up getting a house in Vegas, and it seemed like he was more focused on being a DJ instead of making beats. In 2022, he made a few beats for Takeoff and Quavo, but then Takeoff was tragically shot and killed, and it had a big impact on Murda Beatz. Murda Beatz had been tied with Takeoff for over a decade. They made hundreds of tracks together, went on tour, and Murda used to stay with the Migos when he went to Atlanta. Murda told XXL that he wanted to keep Takeoff's legacy going, and in the same interview, he talks about focusing on mental health and said that a lot of people in music and people in general have mental health issues. In 2023, he made a few beats for Quavo and dropped another project with Shorty Shorty, but Murda Beatz stayed out of the spotlight. He never said why he decided to basically disappear from the industry, but it's clear that Murda had a lot going on behind the scenes, and some people think the Polo G drama hurt his rep in the industry too. The same year, Murda Beatz went back to his hometown, Fort Erie, and gave a speech at his old high school. His old English teacher told a story about seeing Murda open up his laptop and notice he had music production software installed. When the teacher asked about it, Murda told him he just sold his first beat for $30. At the assembly, Murda also donated $10,000 to the school's toy drive, so he came a long way from selling $30 beats. The last time Murda Beatz really made headlines was when he crashed his Lamborghini in Japan. Murda was visiting Japan, but 2 days after he landed, he ran his Lambo into a pole. Luckily, he made it out and wasn't hurt, but hopefully the next time Murda Beatz is in the spotlight, it's for dropping another hit instead of crashing his whip or getting into another beef.